We're on. Hi, everyone. This is our last Unity Mentor Call for the year for 2019. And today is a very special call because we are going to, in the next hour, help you own the stage. So when you get on a stage, that stage is all yours. Sandy Grigsby, who has spoken on some of the biggest stages around the world, literally around the world, myself, I speak at least once or twice a week. We are your mentors through this journey of whatever it takes to make you better at what you do and what you are. Today's guest, he has written the book. He's known as the Pitch Whisperer, right? Mm-hmm. And his book is called Through Storytelling. What's it called? Come on, help me out.
Better Selling Through Storytelling.
Storytelling. So Sandy and I, last week with a bunch of our awesome friends, put on an incredible event called Presentation 100%, which was all around the idea of how you get on a stage and present, not just to a gigantic audience, but even to a smaller audience. And the key was the stage is your conversation location. That's what it is. It's not about a presentation. It's not about acting. It's about a conversation. And that's the first secret about owning the stage. It's not about my deck. Oh my God. Well, you know how people get all excited. I'm one of them, by the way. I love making a great deck.
That's why I'm laughing. It's about his deck.
I have a nice deck, okay? I put great decks together, but it's not about that because I realize that that deck, that presentation that's on the screen behind you is the tool I use to walk through that conversation, that story arc, which we'll touch upon a little later on and how important that story arc is. But today is around the idea of you getting up and saying, hello, audience. I am here to educate you and I'm here to entertain you. I'm education. And that's really the key. The greatest speakers out there, the greatest, from Steve Jobs, who would get out on stage to, I guess, launch all the new products. He would educate and entertain. People would be leaning on the edge of their seats to wait for whatever Steve was going to say. And at the end, he would always say, one more thing. And everyone knew it was like the end of a Marvel movie. You don't know what's going to happen until after all the credits, and there was the end. So Steve owns the stage. You know Tony pretty well. Tony Robbins owns the stage, right?
He does.
Besides being huge.
Yeah, when I was on stage with him, he looked like this, and then there was me.
But he owns the stage.
He did.
And the first and most important word of owning the stage is cows. What's before cows?
What? You're pop quizzing me now. I'm not ready. It's too early in the morning.
No. Confidence.
Of course it's confidence.
But that's the main key.
Wake up.
It's the main key. Confidence is the key. So that's when you see Tony Robbins get up there, when Steve Jobs would get up there, confidence exuded from them. And even when they messed up, like what Elon Musk did only a few weeks ago by breaking the windows on the Cybertruck, confidence to move beyond that, even though I think that was kind of planned.
Yeah, I think, but he had the confidence to plan it that way and make it happen.
It looked real. It was fake. But that's another story. But confidence to move forward. And the key is confidence is the key to make sure that you are going to own the stage. Okay, so let's see. We're good on time. And we're going to go through this. And
I see John Livesay.
John's there. Wait, we're not going to bring on John yet. Wait a second. Is that Peter Hurley?
Peter
Hurley. You know what? We should unmute Peter real quick. Peter, wait. We're unmuting you. Let's see. I got to bring Peter on real quick. Peter Hurley. No way. Peter.
You unmuted me. I'm unmuted.
I know you're unmuted. Peter, you speak all over the world. You're a world-class speaker. What do you feel the secrets are of owning the stage?
I think for me, it's funny because I was watching a TEDx talk this morning, and when I did mine, they had me scripted, and I felt terrible. I felt stuck. I felt stuck to the deck. I felt like, And when I know my stuff, like you said, it's not about the deck. When I know my stuff, I go off on tangents and stuff pops in my brain, and there's a flow and you feel so much better. And I think it's just the confidence of being an expert in what you're talking about. So if you're an expert and you're talking to, it doesn't matter who you're talking about, if you're the expert, it feels so great. I got to speak to 100 beauty of all the beauty people in New York City. And I was on stage with Khloe Kardashian. but I was an expert. I was like up there. I was like, this is awesome. I feel like an expert. I've got the 100 people from like every magazine and every media outlet in front of me. But because I was talking about my thing, that was the thing. So it was really cool.
I was talking about my thing. I got the thing.
And that's exactly right. That's exactly what happened to me when I did my TEDx talk. I got up there and I went, wait a minute, I know my stuff. Let me just talk like I speak to my clients. And boom, it all flowed. So
Like
when you talk about your stuff,
They
yeah,
didn't let me do that.
but it was exactly what Peter said. I was in my head about the script that they wanted me to deliver. And right before I was told, you have to follow the script exactly or they won't put your talk on TED. And I was like, oh my God, there's no way I can remember this. And that's why I froze up and freaked out right before. But that was the day before. Day of, new mindset.
Oh, that was good. See, I went on and they had us scripted and then I'm doing it and I missed a line. And then I was like, shit, well, how do I get to the next line? And like, so I was never thought it was that great. Everybody who watches is like, oh, it's amazing. But I was like, I was scripted. It felt so.
But that's the key between both of you guys, all of us.
Yeah.
They don't know that we messed up. No one in the audience knows, oh, you skipped something. They have no concept. It's only us.
Yeah.
And I think we dwell too much on, oh, I messed up. Or like for me, the remote doesn't work or the microphone's not. Don't bring that up to anyone's attention. It's wrong to do that. Peter, real quick, before we bring our next guest on, don't go away, Peter, but as you speak all over the world, and like you and Sandy, you guys are world leaders in your space, preparation is what you've been doing for the last decade or 2 decades. That's really what the prep work is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's already built in. It's already in there. It's just kind of like letting it come out, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. But don't go away, Peter. Hang on, okay? We're going to bring John on.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay, she's so much better at this than me. You really are. Stay there, Peter Hurley. Peter Hurley, like Sandy, is one of the most prolific photographers out there. He's got his own style. It's called a Hurley. And when they have a Hurley, he'll go, oh, I have a Hurley. It's like a Picasso, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, all truths here. When I started doing personal branding photography and photography of people, I studied Peter's work.
Yeah, Peter is, yeah, he's up there. He's up there. But like Yoda or whatever, there's always a Jedi that comes around a little later on.
Whatever you're saying.
Okay.
Peter, that means I get to carry you on my back.
Yeah. All right, we have our featured speaker that's joining us today. I met him actually about a decade ago. He was working at an organization called Condé Nast, representing things like, let's see, GQ magazine and some of the biggest publications out there. He understands the idea of storytelling, connecting with people, owning the stage when it comes to a presentation. John, how do you describe John?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Wow. Introduce our guest.
Hi, John.
Who is this?
John Livesay is a TEDx speaker with over 1 million views. Like,
Wow.
And you can see him on regular TV, like, what is the one he's on?
He's on Fox.
The morning show, Fox, all those morning TV stuffs where he talks about telling amazing stories and how to do it. He has a really amazing book, Better Selling Through Storytelling. It's kind of rhymy. I like that.
It's brilliant. It's exactly what you need. John, thanks a lot for joining us. And John, let's just start about owning that stage. We have some incredible speakers that are actually joining us today on our call.
Yes.
John, what are some of the secrets? You speak all over the world. How do you prepare and how do you own the stage?
Well, I think the key to owning the stage is to take those first few seconds and really make eye contact with the audience, because confident people are comfortable with silence. And if you don't start talking really, really fast because you're nervous, but literally stand there for a few seconds, make some eye contact with the audience, then there's like, oh, when is he going to start talking? What's he going to say? And then you have them with you energetically. And that's really my belief, is that people are connecting with you energetically before you even open your mouth. And when you come from a calm, focused place and are confident with, as you were talking about earlier with Peter, the amount of preparation that I do for a talk. I was just in Vegas speaking to the Venetian sales team, which is responsible for filling up all those 7,000 rooms in the 2 properties, as well as all the ballrooms. And this new thing coming to Vegas, if you haven't heard about it, it's called the MGM's, no, not MGM, it's the Madison Square Garden, MSG Sphere. So it's going to be between the Palazzo and the Venetian. It's this huge sphere. You could fit 3 Goodyear blimps inside of it, Ken and Candy. And they're going to make it completely immersive with the experience of video. So at night there'll be concerts, and during the day, this sales team will have to convince big companies doing product launches to pay. Are you ready for this? The starting rate is going to be $1 million a day to rent that space.
And they're only going to put 3 Goodyear blimps in it? That's expensive.
Yes, yeah. So, you know, all the cutting edge technology. So no matter how innovative your new space is, you still need a story to pull people in to imagine what that's going to be like, since there's no other place in the world like it.
So John, there's got to be a step where we go from somebody to that person. There's got to be, when you stand on stage, you're insignificant and you turn into something that's incredible. What is that progression?
Well, I believe there's a ladder that I've created called Invisible to Irresistible.
That's it.
And at the bottom of the ladder, we're invisible. It's kind of like dating. If you go to a party and you see somebody you're attracted to, they don't even know you're in the room, you might as well be invisible. And the same thing is true for us as brands sometimes, or as a speaker. If I've never heard of Peter and his amazing work, or Sandy's amazing work, then you're literally invisible to me. So the first step is, what can I do to get on the radar of people that I want to possibly work with? Whether it's a warm introduction or a post or whatever. Then you move up to insignificant. And I know this has never happened to the 2 of you because you're both gorgeous, but you know, I don't know what's worth, invisible or insignificant. You know, like, I see you and you're insignificant to me. Yeah. Or let's say you're selling life insurance, and you know, I'd be like, well, that's insignificant to me. I'm not in the market for that. Then we get up to this interesting rung, and I call this being at the friend zone at work. You know, when you just have these endless conversations with people. Do you want to hire me to be your photographer, your coach, your speaker, whatever it is? And you're just stuck having endless conversations. But in the dating world, maybe you say something that someone says, oh, maybe I wrote you off too fast. I'm not going out with you yet, but I'm at least interested. You said something funny. And then you move up to intriguing. And this is really where the storytelling comes in. You start painting a picture of what it would be like to go on a date. Well, I'd have the town car pick us up and go to Griffith Park for watch the sunset. And you're like, oh, and I've worked with clients where they literally say, I'm intrigued. Tell me more of what that would look like to work together. And then you get to the irresistible spot, which is, you know, in dating, you can't stop thinking about the person. You're constantly texting them. And of course, in the world of business, these are your brand ambassadors. They love you. They think you hung the moon. They can't wait to tell all their friends about how great that presentation 100 was. I learned so much in one day, and on and on and on. So the key there is to really take care of those people that think you're irresistible and not take them for granted.
And those, if we're going to go back to selling on stage, those are the people that appreciate what you do. Yes. I always tell people, if they want to become speakers, you got to make sure you have a few years just speaking for free and being at the Rotary clubs, making sure you're speaking at whatever those social clubs are, to get, just to understand the stage. They love you too, because as you graduate and become this great prolific speaker, they go, oh, she came from us. You know,
yes, Toastmasters is another great place to start. Yes.
And it's a good place to practice and work out your kinks.
Yeah, your kinks.
So the parts where you get hung up, or you know, it allows you the opportunity to just become more confident on stage.
Well, if you look at top comedians, I know you're a big fan of humor, Ken, and speaking and having humor as part of the entertainment value. You know, comedians are constantly testing out new materials where people haven't paid, and they're surprised, where it's Jerry Seinfeld or somebody else. And I opened up one of my talks by saying, the first thing I do in the morning is take a cold shower, because the research shows it burns fat, reduces inflammation, and fights depression. And actually, the research had me at burns fat. And that usually gets a chuckle or two. And then I worked with a comedian, and he said, you know, in the world of comedy, when you say, if this is true, what else is true? So we brainstorm together. So the next line after that is, in fact, I'm thinking of giving up working out altogether and just taking 3 cold showers every day. And it gets another laugh.
I don't have a drum roll. There's no snare drums around here.
Yeah.
Now, John, can you do an exercise with us? And we actually want to do it with everybody that's on this call right now.
Great.
I want everyone to think about the 3 things you're great at. What you are incredible. Like Peter Hurley would be photography. I know your 3 things are. Go ahead. What are your 3 things that you're great at?
Personal branding.
1.
So understanding your image.
Mm-hmm.
Confidence. So
Got it.
being confident when you need it.
Mm-hmm.
And high performance. So how can you perform at a very high level?
So I want you all to think about and write it right now in the chat, the 3 things you're great at, and think about it right away. What's that top, that second and third? For me, it's knowing how to connect people, how to create epicenters of opportunity. And then I would say looking into the near future where things are going to happen, not thinking they might happen, but going to happen. Those are my 3 things. What are your 3 things? Add them to the chat right now. What are your 3 things that you are great at? And this is important. We're looking at the chat. Come on, everyone, start adding your things. We want to see what your 3 things are. That includes you, Mr. Hurley. What are your 3 things? Come on, Abhishek that's out there. We want to know Glenn and Kristen, who's got the Christmas hats on. Come on. We have Christopher Cooper. What are your 3 things that you are great at?
Glenn and Kristen.
Okay, I just want you to all know, the reason why we're bringing this up is this is something that we do every 2 months. And John's actually one of our mentors. This presentation went 100%. It's a 1-day, very, very, very deep course on how to become a great stage owner, owning the stage. And it's interesting the way we started it. It's very similar to what we're doing right now, but in a much more elaborate approach. And that is everyone writes their 3-minute talk. And then they deliver their 3-minute talk right at the very beginning. And they're rated by the community that's part of this program. Now, they don't know what their ratings are. And then we go through this whole skill set and we go through this flow of what it takes to own the stage, story arcing, hero's journey, you name it, confidence, standing, posture, pose. And then later on, they redo their talks. They go from 2s to 3s, 10 being the best. And at the end of the day, someone actually got a 10.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
impressive.
It was transformative.
And their first talk was about maybe a 4.
Yeah. So again, come on, put your stuff in there. We're looking right now. We want everyone to add what their 3 things they're great at. This is why.
Now, Peter Hurley wrote sailing. Tell them why.
Well, Peter is, of course, an Olympiad. Wait. Yeah, let's unmute Peter real quick.
Not just a hobby, huh, Peter?
No, an Olympiad. This guy.
I mean, I'm old now, and I still do it, so I love it.
Dude, I'm older than you. Stop that old thing. You're a youngin' compared to me.
I know, but I went to the World Championship, got my butt kicked in Japan in July, so I was a little bummed. But I love it. I still do it. I trained for the Olympics in 96 and 2000, quit, got back into it on a high level now, and am loving it. I love it. It's my thing.
The reason why I'm asking everyone to put down their 3s, we did a call yesterday to a group in South Africa. And in South Africa, we're asking them because they want to know how to own the stage, but they all think they should be talking about something they're not actually great at. As we mentioned to Peter, I go, Peter, how much preparation do you need to give a great talk? And it's like the last 10 years, 15, 20 years, because you are an expert at what his first thing is, photography.
Sailing, photography.
Photography is number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Then sailing, then coaching, speaking. See, I believe that you lead with your first 2. Your first 2 are your leads. So we had this one girl that said her lead was tool making. She's a woman, baking, and then travel. And it was really fascinating to realize that she could use the tool making experience. Like, how do you actually make a tool? How do you go through the process of design and then manufacturing and testing? And using those steps to make a tool could be applied into having a great travel experience.
Mm-hmm.
So stepping through what she knows, tool making, and applying it to almost anything else she does. So she gave us a miniature talk all around the idea of tool making on to something else. So when you look at what your topics are, who else do we got? We got Abby. Abby says web development, communication, and writing. That's
good to know, Abby. I'm going to have you write more stuff for our website.
Abby is one of the best web designers out there. He's based in India, but he is incredible. Just give him hopefully some business today. What do we have? We have from, who else do we have? Ava. What's Ava say?
Spreading love.
Be careful of that. That's like
That's so cute, though.
but that's not a lead. You can't say, oh, no.
I don't know. It depends on how she spreads it. Let's see. Championing causes and travel curating. You know, I think she's backwards, though. Travel curating, she's so incredible at that. That should be your number one.
Yeah, that's an inverse. Yeah, I guess this is where good friends come into play that actually know individuals. What else do we have? We have, who's singing, teaching, and speaking? Who's
I
that?
think that's Stephen Harms.
Stephen is, oh yeah, Stephen, definitely. Stephen's that.
Where is he?
What else do we have?
We have fashion designing, researching, and creating. Ooh, fashion designing.
Oh, I need help on that. How do you say their name? That's a cool name, whatever it is.
Oh gosh. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name.
It's an impressive name, by the way. On any test form, your name would actually run too long. It would. So John.
We're gonna call her Lilo.
Lilo.
Good job, Lilo.
If I know my lead is all around the idea of connecting people, and Sandy knows that her lead is all around personal branding, that's what we should lead and own the stage with, right?
Correct. I call this stacking your moments of certainty. So part of the goal is, as you know, one of my soundbite taglines is, we all get nervous, especially if the crowd gets bigger or we have a lot at stake and we get butterflies in our stomach. And the goal is to get those butterflies to fly in formation. So you get the nervous energy out of your stomach and you put it into the room by gestures. And so right before you have to go on stage or do anything where you might have your nerves up, winning an Olympic event or whatever it is, if you stack your moments of certainty, when you remember times when you nailed something, I got a big yes, somebody went on a second date, I got an award, and put that in your head as opposed to the negative self-talk, that's part of the way you ground yourself and own the stage, because you're remembering things and times when you nailed it as opposed to letting your head take over with fear thoughts.
Peter, when you speak on photography. That's one of the big things you speak all over the world on. You don't talk about things you're not good at or don't know. You do not want to go in that direction, but you always lead with what you're great at, correct?
Yeah, I'd be a disaster talking about anything else.
Yes, please give us a whole lesson on New York pizza. I know you might like pizza, but come on. You're not the expert.
No.
Not at all, but man, there's some good pizza out there. But that's the idea. You have to be able to lead with what you're great at. And I think most speakers or people who want to speak, they want to talk about what they wish they could talk about, not what they should be talking about. Right?
I think that puts an unnecessary stress on them, and it makes you go into the kind of an imposter syndrome situation where you're trying to talk about something that you don't know about, right? I don't know. I just was dealing with a guy with this that's in one of my coaching groups, and he's telling me he's having a hard time getting clients and stuff, but he gets on my coaching thing and he acts like an expert, and I'm like, you're a disaster area. You put the clients in your door. But so I think you have to talk your talk and walk your walk. Is really what it is.
That's interesting. It is true
It's
where
so
people want to. So when you did your TED Talk, and saying to Peter, you owned it because you felt comfortable with what it was.
Once I made that decision in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I was living on what they wanted me to do, the rules that were around doing a TEDx talk and the conditions. And then I kept thinking about being on camera, and if I mess up, that's going to be for the whole interwebs to see forever.
Mm-hmm.
So that was going through my brain. But once I was about to walk out, I said, I can't worry about that. I know my stuff. Let me just speak like I'm speaking to a client. And then I reset myself and boom, it just flowed.
Let me do a reset real quick. This is Unity. We do this call once a week. Now we're taking the next 2 weeks off because obviously we have Christmas and New Year's. We're traveling, we're doing something fun. But when we come back, the great guests that you see that are joining us on a regular basis, and by the way, these guests are archived. So you want to see Cameron Sinclair, who literally is changing the planet, or Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor, or Simon Mandering, all these past calls, They're over at the Unity site. You want to watch these calls. They're incredible. So go to asktheory.com, and then you can find everything there. It's ASK, like I'm asking a question, theory.com. And Unity is just one of our programs. So as we journey into the new year, we realize that many of you are sitting there going, I know I have a great idea. I just don't know how to launch that idea. And Unity's idea is to bring everybody that is in these calls together to be your mentor for a week, to take your idea through the process of making it real. So by the time you leave in 1 week, your idea is a real business and it's launched. It's launched in a week. And that means from incorporation to knowing what the sales channels are going to be, the funnel tools, and even finding your first customer.
It sounds crazy,
But it's not.
but it's possible because we've done it many, many times.
Yeah. And the people that we're going to have join us are your mentors to take you through that process. So that's why we're here. We want to make sure you get a sample, a taste, a touch of who these great mentors are. And John, and hopefully maybe Peter would be one of those mentors. So let's go back to our top 3 things. Peter, I want to touch upon your third one, which was coaching. I don't think you go off and speak in front of giant audiences on coaching. You use photography and your athletics as your key points, and coaching is kind of the glue between all 3 or 2 of those. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I get on stage because of my ability to coach, I guess. They don't, I mean, but my story, they like the story. I mean, I guess it's my ability with the camera. I don't know. Canon sends me up on stage to talk about their lenses and whatever, and I mix in my sailing and stuff, and you know, my techniques, tips for the human face and stuff like that when I'm on stage.
You know, it's interesting, and I'm not sure if you're like this for Peter or John or everyone else that's on the call. If it's a smaller audience, I feel more intimidated than if it's a larger audience. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you just spoke in front of a few thousand people in Johannesburg. That large audience was like a supercharge for you, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I was dancing around and everything.
Yeah, she was killing it. How about you, Peter? You feel the same way? Bigger audiences give you more energy?
I mean, it depends on the audience. I feed off the audience. So and it's also, if it's a bunch of photographers, I'm good. You had me up at Metal, I was like, oh boy, here we go. I was like, I really got to perform here. I got to look good up here on stage. You know, it's like a different audience, but it's interesting because I felt, hey, this is my wheelhouse. This is my perspective. I'm going to give it to them. So it was a challenge to be up on the Metal stage. I loved it. But I was on a stage with 3,000 people at a photography conference, and it was like I was even fumbling with the guy who somehow he couldn't get me the mic or something like that, and we just riffed off each other in front of 3,000 people, and they just started cracking up and laughing about it. It was awesome. And then I went into my thing, and it was even better.
But that goes right to what you said, John, right? That's exactly his audience. That's where he should be hanging out all the time, right?
Correct. Yes. When you don't have to justify why you're on stage, then your own imposter syndrome or negative self-talk really dies down, because you tell yourself, I've got this, I have something of value to offer. And that's the thing we really want to do. Even if we're not a photographer or a former, Olympic athlete, we want to take our stories of what our expertise is and make it applicable to every person in the audience. So you don't have to be a professional photographer to get some value out of the life lessons that Peter is sharing on stage. So I'm sure he has analogies of how people can apply it into their everyday life.
And actually, Peter is interesting because he has his own taglines, his own. People, please follow Peter Hurley on Instagram, because his Insta stories are, got a situation here, everything's a situation, everything, and it's around his family, his job, and his location. So whatever he's doing, if he's sailing, he's actually in the water, sailing and doing Insta stories in a competition. It's crazy. And then he does lives in the middle of the water. But he lives in social media world. He connects with his users on a regular basis. But since we're all here, which is fun, I think we should go through the idea of how we should go through steps of owning the stage. And I want to go between, I got you, I got Peter, and I got John. I'm going to use you, the 3 of you, as the experts. Sound good?
Let's go.
So guys, we put this together, again, this whole course. And one of the things on the course was, how do you actually write a 3-minute talk? Yeah, Blaise Pascal said, I would have written your shorter letter if I had more time. Writing something short and condensed and owning the audience you're talking to is really, really hard.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Because when you do a mini talk, a 3-minute talk, which TED has, by the way, they have 3-minute talks. And then you do a TED talk, which is 18 minutes. And then when you do a keynote speech, which is generally 30 minutes to 60 minutes, the shorter the talk is, the harder it is.
Mhm.
Because you have to own that audience in a shorter period of time with much more education and entertainment, and owning that audience shorter is harder. So when you do your 3-minute talk, which I always suggest everyone sit down, do your 3-minute talk, try to decide what those important things are. We call it a mini talk. I want to go through these. I'm first going to start with, these are about 8 to 10 points you need to go through. And our first thing you need to do when it comes to mastering a mini talk is what?
Ooh, this one's good. Have approachable body language.
Yeah, this is important. Can you show us some things that are non-approachable? No, that's a big one.
John's laughing because he knows it's true.
It's non-approachable. Other ones? Hands in pockets?
Yeah, hands in pockets. Sometimes hands behind your back. It just kind of depends on the expression you're making and your body posture.
I know what I hate seeing, and people do it all the time because they're told if you don't know what to do with your hands, do this. I don't know about you, but it's like an evil professor going up. Yeah, it's too creepy. Don't be doing this. If you need to do something, come out with your hands like this, or most people will say that when your hands are exposed, people feel more comfortable. So if you can have your palms out like this when you walk out, or something in the sense to where it doesn't feel like you're concealing anything, an audience, no, don't do that. An audience feels more accepting when they see your hands open as opposed to closed.
And you can use your hands.
Oh, please.
Gesturing is nice. Don't be crazy with it, but use your hands.
Okay, so that's number one. Have approachable body language. Number two, I'm going to go with Peter on this. Peter, you need to somehow greet the audience. Start with a way that there's a connection. How do you do it, Peter?
I have a catchphrase. I mean, if they're photographers, I just run out and I have to say shebang because they follow me. And I said this word shebang in a video and it went viral. So then I stopped saying it and people were like upset. They would be like, where's the shebang? So now I have to get on stage and pretty much yell shebang and then go off. And
Peter,
if it's to photographers.
Can you pretend that we are a group of photographers? Can you walk off camera and then can you come on camera as if you're on stage greeting us? Please do that.
Oh my gosh, you guys are amazing. I can't believe you're all here with me today. 3, 2, 1, shebang! Like
That's how Peter starts. And they go crazy. By the way, Jim Cramer, who I love, Jim stopped saying booyah. That's like his saying booyah. And he stopped it for a while and all of his fans would say, where's the booyah? Yeah. But I guess the shebang is your booyah.
Somebody told me to do that. So I go with that kind of energy. And John, I loved what you said at the beginning about coming in and being quiet. But what I do is I come in like that and then I go straight down to nothing. When something important comes, I go to nothing. And they're like, what's wrong? What is going on with him? He just shut up. And I wait for a really long, like an extended period of time. And I look around to emphasize this point I'm going to say next. And I started doing that without knowing I was doing it. So when John said that, I was like, oh, that's cool. I do that. I do it in a different spot, but I do it.
Mm-hmm. True. John, I'm going to go to you. Let's talk about the idea of not starting off in the negative, because I realize there's a lot of people get on stage that are definitely not well performed, and they go, God, doesn't the weather suck out here?
Oh my God.
Trying to connect using negativity. Don't do that, right?
Yeah, don't do that. And you know, I was coaching somebody who was going to be pitching in front of a group of investors, and she said, you know, and I worked with her on exactly what to say to grab people in the first 90 seconds. And she's like, well, I added some stuff. And I said, what did you add? She goes, hi, I'm so glad to be here. My name is so-and-so. And how many of you here are professional athletes? And I went, oh my God, that is, unless you're a famous person, don't be asking the audience, how many of you here, for hands up, you have to earn the right to get audience participation. And you don't, you know, like, how about that traffic? How about that weather? It's like, it's not interesting. It's not unique. It's horrible. The one thing you were talking about with hands, I just want to let people know that the handshake came about to show you didn't have a weapon in your hand.
Yeah.
So that concept that we first start with an audience or individual at a gut level, is it safe? Is the fight or flight response have to kick in here, or is this somebody who's safe? So, oh, I don't have a weapon. Nice to meet you. Same thing with an audience. I am here for you. This is a safe place. I'm not going to insult you or attack you or, you know, all that stuff. So I think all of those mindsets, when we're aware that our mind is geared in this old fight or flight response, and that if you're separate from the crowd, your mind is going, wait a minute, the herd is out there and I'm alone. My instinct is that's when you get picked off by an attacker. So even you have to override those fear instincts in our brain when we're speaking and going, I'm up here, the tribe is out in the audience, but I'm not separate from them, and it's safe to be up here. So I'm safe to be up here, and I'm safe to connect with them, and all that energy allows you to start off and own the stage.
I really would like people to pay attention to some of the greatest speakers out there. One is Joel Osteen. Joel runs one of these mega churches, which is down in Texas. And Joel always starts with a joke. Can I tell it?
Okay, tell the joke.
Okay, so
He's been
recently he gave this joke out. So imagine there's 60,000 people in this giant auditorium, and this minister walks out on stage, and he always says, I like to start off with a little humor. And the one he said the other day was this: an 85-year-old man is walking down the street, and all of a sudden he hears, pick me up, pick me up. And he looks around, and then he hears, pick me up, and he looks down, and there's a frog. And the frog says, if you pick me up and kiss me, I will turn into a beautiful bride. And he looks down at the frog, and he picks the frog up and he sticks it into his jacket pocket. And the frog says, no, no, no. If you kiss me, I will turn into a beautiful bride. And the 85-year-old man said, at my age, a talking frog is even better. Bam! That's how I got the audience going, right? I know you want to use it. Go ahead, you can use it. The way I start, which is a little different than Joel, is what I see an audience, depending upon what time of day I speak, I always say, hey, how do we greet each other? And I will throw up different words in different languages. I say, how do you greet each other in a non-English way? And everybody would say, if it's good morning, they would say, good dog. They would all go yelling out whatever it is. And they get really excited because they know a language someone else doesn't. But it allows people to connect right away because, oh, I didn't know you speak Portuguese. I didn't know you spoke English. I don't know.
Don't even go there.
You know, but you use a way to make sure it's an upbeat way to connect with people. Do not say traffic sucks, weather's horrible, the lights are so dim in here. It feels like Legionnaire disease is seeping in. Don't start like that, okay? Make sure you connect in a positive note. Okay. So this isn't obvious, but there's more to it. Because when you look at this one, it also means about the stage itself. What is this one right here?
Be well informed. I can't even speak today. Well informed and prepared.
But that means what? That means the day before. Like when we did Africa, what did we do?
Yeah, we went on stage and we scouted the stage. We sat in the audience to understand what it felt like to be in the audience, to look back at the stage, understanding the pitfalls that might be on the stage, the opportunities on the stage, like the people way in the back or to the right, to the left. There we go. You know, you want to be able to really know what you're walking out onto.
Yeah, the stage is essential. You need to know where the lighting is not good. If you really want people to come on stage with you, if that's part of it, which we'll talk about, where are they going to stand? Sandy did something really important. She said, I went into the audience. She went into where everybody would sit to see how it would look from their perspective. That's really smart. Most speakers get in a day before the event, and that's what we do right away. We just were in Orlando, and right away I got to go look at the stage. I got to see the way it's set up. Of course, the next day they changed it. Do you remember?
Yeah.
They changed the
They did.
stage.
Ken
No!
walked in and went,
What? Different stage? I don't know what to do. But the stage. All right, Mr. Hurley.
you know, it is really important to know what you're walking into, because I once had to speak at an event for Dress for Success.
Mhm.
And they told me it was going to be one thing. I didn't have time to get there in advance. And when I walked in, it was something totally different. And it changed the way that I was going to present, because I needed to use a screen and I had a remote and I was doing slides, and the room was set up so differently that I couldn't do it the way that I needed to do it. So it's really good to get there early and just scout it out so you can make those last minute changes.
Peter Hurley, I want to talk about the idea, since we're talking about that mini talk and that way to connect with audiences. Have you ever heard of the term? Well, probably not, because my dad made it up. It's you have I problems. I, me. When speakers get up, other than the speakers you want to hear that are like combat veterans that saved the planet,
Right.
it's about how you, being Peter Hurley, are going to teach the audience. So it's not about it's about how I will help you do what I do. It's about you, not I, right?
Right. Yeah. And when you immediately, when somebody starts speaking like that, it turns you off. If as an attendee in the speech, you're going, this person just talking about themselves, unless, right, a combat veteran or somebody that's got an incredible story that you want to see.
There's a saying, what's in it for them? They are sitting in that audience because you, the expert, are going to give them wisdom that they can utilize or story tell later on. And if you don't do that, you have lost.
Right.
Oh, where's your what happened?
What?
Peter, what happened? Did your caffeine wear off? What happened to you?
What do you mean, my energy?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I was yelling before. You want me to? Yeah. I think everybody's got to find that one thing, because that's the hook, right? What is in it for them? I like that. And the I thing, I like that too.
Yeah,
I mean, for me, you know what it's about, because you've seen me speak. It's about the person thinking about their face and how to make themselves more photogenic using their particular face. Because everybody's unique.
It's about them, not about you.
Hook. Yeah, that's my hook from the get-go is, let's talk about your face, and I bring people on stage and talk about their face, and it's interesting. I think.
No, I think so. Peter became famous because of the squinch. That video went viral, so much so that I'm in a chicken place in Santa Monica with a few friends, and I see Peter. Now, Peter lives in New York. I see a guy, I go, I know that guy. I go, who is that? That's the squinch dude. And that's how I approached him. I go, you're that guy. He goes, well, what? You're the squinch. Oh yeah, I'm the squinch guy. And then from there, we just bonded. And if we were gay, we would be boyfriend and boyfriend.
He came into my life like a whirlwind, like he does in all of our lives. And there he was. I was like, oh my God. And here we are. How many years later? That was like 5 years ago, right?
No. This is like 10 years ago.
I have a question.
I haven't been teaching for 10 years. I haven't been speaking for 10 years.
Wait, we got a question for John.
John.
Yes.
John, when you are, because we're talking about speaking on stage, but it's not just a giant stage in front of 3,000 people. So what is the best thing you should do when you're speaking on a smaller stage, for example, on a TV show?
Oh, got it. Audience you can't see.
Yeah, audiences you can't see. And there's maybe 2 people there, 3 people there.
Well, if you're being interviewed on a set, whether it's KTLA News here in LA or any set at all, remember that you're an invited guest into that show, and that the people who tune in every day, whether it's a podcast or a live TV show, have a relationship with the host and the journalist. So you want to bond with them by keeping eye contact on the people asking you the questions. They might look at the camera and read something that's on the screen with a question, but you stay connected to them. And when you get the rapport with the host, and they also might like you and compliment you or laugh at something you say, then the viewers are going to feel bonded to you. Oh, if the host who I trusts you, then I'm going to trust you.
And it's not a real comfortable experience inside those newsrooms. It's cold at times. There's cameras zooming in and out. It looks nothing like what you see on TV from the point you're at when you're there, right?
Correct. And, you know, you have to be mic'd up, and sometimes they'll put powder on you so you don't have a shiny forehead. And often there'll be like 10 to 30 seconds before they go live. They're going to a commercial, or the weather guy's talking. Take that moment to connect, even if it's just a visual, and compliment the host. I love the segment you did yesterday, or what you just said 10 minutes before I came on stage. Let them have a sense of who you are before the cameras cut to your segment.
Well, that's interesting, because you do the exact same thing with the regular audience. You have to have that connection with the audience. What Sandy did at one of our talks, which was great, there was probably 4,000 or 5,000 people there. She got out and got people to dance. She started dancing, they started, and it was amazing, because she connected with them on a level to where you all moved. That was your connection point.
Yeah.
That was
I
super
like
smart.
to get people up and out of their seats.
But you do that often. You do that every how many, like 30 minutes, 45 minutes?
Well, it depends on the length of what I'm doing, but yeah, I try to interject it frequently to get people to move. It
Goes
kind of
to
breaks
the
the boredom
energy.
as well.
Yes, it's all energy.
Let's talk about the idea of distractions and problems that occur to you while you're speaking. Most people, and Peter, I'm not sure if you've done this, or John or Sandy or myself, and that is, we can't bring any distractions into light. Now, the reason I bring this up is, if you notice when people are running for president and there's hecklers in the crowd, there's either two ways you can handle that. Either you handle it by ignoring it, or you handle it by making it part of what you're doing. But you don't shun it or put it down going, shut up, don't do that. That's not to your advantage. So use distractions as an additive to your talk, or completely ignore it. Now, I personally like the 800-pound elephant in the room in acknowledging it, but making it part of. That's what I like to do. What do you like to do?
You're really good at that.
I've got so many distractions in my life. That's easy to do.
You know, I do the same thing. I kind of acknowledge it, and then I'll make a joke about whatever is the distraction.
But it's got to be something that's recognizable. Not if you like you have a pimple right here going, oh my God, my pimple today is bothering me. Don't bring that up. They can't see it. But if the microphone has a weird echo, hello, 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 everybody's going to hear that. They're all going to recognize it's going on. And then you could say, let's make light of it.
Yeah.
Something like that. Peter, how do you handle a distraction or a situation? Do you incorporate it or ignore it?
Oh, something's going on with this mute.
Wait, Peter Hurley, hang on. Peter, are you back?
I'm getting a distraction now. These guys are building a set. I'm building a set in my back room.
Let's see it.
There's a saw going on there, and I've been distracted, so I muted myself.
Let's see the Let's see the set. What's it look like?
You want to see it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's not done yet, but it's getting there. I put some. Let me see. How are we doing? I'm coming in. I'm showing them the set. So I built. Can you see it?
Yeah, it looks like a room.
A brick wall, and I put up a fake window over there, and
Nice.
I'm gonna do the floor, and then I got to get some furniture in here. I got another fake window over here.
What are you doing? What's the goal?
Looks cool, right? I don't know. I'm gonna do all my videos and stuff here. Here's my view outside the window from it. Can you see the Empire?
Well, that's a good view. Why you need a fake window when you got the real window?
Not real windows, but I got Oscar here help me out. And
Hey, Oscar!
I'm gonna put a big screen back there so I can be in front of it. I think I'm just worried about glare. Do you know anything about that? Can I put a huge screen back there of some sort?
Yeah, of course you can. Make sure. Hey, Oscar, will Peter give you a big tip for the holidays?
Yes, I got one. Yeah. I was gonna tip him today. He's leaving today. I'll get you. I'm gonna get you later.
Hey, John, how do you deal with distractions?
I agree with you. I think you should embrace the moment. Don't try to pretend something's not happening if it's happening. I mean, even if it's just a really loud siren going by or a helicopter hovering, you know, make a joke about, I guess the law's caught up with me, or something that makes people realize, we're all hearing this. We're not pretending this isn't happening.
Yeah.
I had the slides go out once on me in the middle of a presentation.
We had that happen to us.
Yeah, that happens.
So, you know,
I know how to.
kept going. And I let the audience know, it's okay, I've got this.
You know, actually I have one tip for handling with distractions like that.
Mhm.
and you need a reset because you lost track of what you were going to say next.
Mhm.
So when that happens, he was kind of making fun of how I get people up to dance. But it's not just about getting people up to dance. It's
No.
about allowing myself the opportunity to reset what I was thinking.
It's brilliant what
So,
you do.
Yeah, if something's going on, or even if you just lose track of where you're at, there's a
Mhm.
distraction, something blinked and now you don't know where you're going. The first thing you do is you ask your audience to do something that doesn't involve you. So have them get up and massage each other. Have them do jumping jacks. Have them turn to the neighbor, shake hands, say hi, turn to the next neighbor, shake hands, say hi, and do a boogie dance. Like whatever it is,
It's a reset
you want
for
to
you.
give yourself that break. So while they're doing that activity, you can go, okay, where was I? And then you pick up again.
Super smart. By the way, also that deck thing going out, John, that's happened to me. And I realized that if you are well rehearsed, and that's another thing we haven't even brought up, you can go without those slides. And in some cases, it might even turn out to be better. So we do this event, which Peter mentioned, I know John's part of also, where we get about 200 people together every week. And I'm very slide oriented, where I have big presentations. And then I decided, I'm going to try this without slides and do it in an environment where we're all sitting around in a circle. And imagine having 200 people sitting in a circle. And it actually turned out even better without any slides. So you want to be able to live on both sides. Peter can do this very, very easily. It's personality driven, but it's knowledge based. There is a gentleman named Marco Tempus. And I'm not sure if you met him yet, Peter. He lives in New York and also here. And Marco has the dubious distinction of having more TED Talks, not TEDx, but TED Talks than anyone. He's actually doing 2 TED Talks next year in February in Vancouver. And how Marco does his TED Talk is he writes it 6 months before the event. And every day to that 6-month point, to that actual event, he practices it 3 times a day. And what he says is the first 2 months is understanding it, memorizing it, feeling it. The next 3 months is all around saying it without needing a teleprompter. And the last month is all around making it sound like it's brand new.
Mhm.
And that's the key, having that fresh feel. Great speakers, when you watch them, you go, wow, it's as if they just said it. They had a conversation. Because if you remember what I said at the very beginning, if you are planning to give a speech, I'm giving a speech, or score and so, you're not. You're having a conversation with an audience. And when I've seen Peter speak, he is one of the best where it's as if, wow, he's talking to me. He's talking to me. Tony Robbins talking, come on, Tony Robbins is so well rehearsed, it looks like it's the first time in a great way, right?
Yeah, and it's exactly the same every single time.
But it feels like it's the first time.
It feels like the first time.
And that's one of the most important things. As we're touching upon this whole idea of owning the stage is just a focal point. Your goal is very simple. When you get up and speak, you have 3 things you need to do. The most important thing is you are there to educate and entertain. Both of those. If you're a comedian, fine, you're there to entertain. But if you are a speaker or a conversationalist on stage, you're educating and entertaining. Because for 3 minutes, for 30 minutes, for an hour, people are going to go, give me a lean in. Next is you want to capture their attention through what's called a story arc. Now, Sandy and I both, what specific genre, what movie group is probably the best at all story arcs? Pixar, if you look at Woody in the extreme situations Woody had to go through in Toy Story, or if you look at Wall-E, or if you look at the movie Up, Pixar are the gods at storytelling through story arcing. So your stories have to have that story arc, that hero's journey. You start here, awesome, awesome, awesome. I fall down here, I have challenge, I need a mentor, and I come out ahead. Or life is here and it sucks, it's gotten so bad. Oh my God, I'm a drug addict, I'm on the street, I lost all my teeth. Oh, I found a savior. They gave me new teeth and now I'm awesome. I don't know.
You know someone that happened that happened to.
But you have to have that story arc and that connection point. So when you do that, you're educating, you're entertaining, you're using story arcing to do that. You're doing a with them. What's in it for them? I'm giving you knowledge. I'm giving you information to give you courage so you can take the action. And last, and the most important, do you know if you've done a great talk? There's a rating system in the speaking industry. And I know everybody that's a speaker knows what it is. What one clear indicator is there to know that you've done or given a great talk? And that is what?
People at the end want to meet you and shake your hand.
There's a line. There is a line of people going, oh my God, I want your card. I want to hire you. If you do a great talk, I know we have Glenn and Kristen in this chat. And Glenn and Kristen, they do incredible decks. So they produce decks for people that are presenting from a business plan to raising money or giving a talk. When they give a speech and they show what they're doing, like, this is what you should do. These are your points. These people line up going, I need to hire you. Yeah. Because your talk is your sales channel. It's a funnel to find business opportunity, right, John?
Yes, yes. I gave a talk to a law firm back east, and one of the lawyers in the audience said, my wife works for a tech company. I think they could use you too and have you help come speak to them. So you never know who's in the audience that knows someone or is related to someone who could hire you.
John, can you give us the story about the guy who was the architect and wanted to get the deal, and they said that their talk had to be good because they were only presenting to a group. They were like an office presentation as opposed to on a stage. And what was the reasoning behind that?
Well, there's so many industries that they get down to a final three. It's between them and two other competitors. And in this case, it was an architecture firm called Gensler, which is the world's largest architecture firm. And they do all kinds of things. One of the things they do is renovate and build airports. And they were told, look, we're going to hire the people we like the most because we got to spend 5 to 6 years with you. And they said, what? Get John in here. We're great. We were just going to show the designs and hope that was enough to get be the one that gets picked. And I said, yeah, but there's no story here. And they said, oh, and also we're going to ask if we can go last compared to the other two, because whoever goes last is memorable. I said, the problem is you can't control what order you present in. And if you're depending on being memorable by being last, you're in trouble. You need to craft a story to make you memorable. So even if you're first, you're setting the bar. And they said, okay, so I'm looking at their presentation of what they're going to do. And I said, you've got some before and afters of another airport you did, but there's still no story here. So I walked them through how to turn a case study into a case story with a little bit of drama and the arc that Ken was referring to. So you take those boring case studies, it's usually just a bunch of information. Maybe there's some before and after pictures, which is great, but you still need to craft a little bit of drama. So here really quickly is the story that caused Gensler to win $1 billion airport renovation in Pittsburgh. You can Google that and you'll see that's the exact dollar amount. When they're describing their case study, they said, 2 years ago, JetBlue at JFK hired us to renovate this airport. One of the challenges we faced was we had to rip up all the flooring and from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. so that the stores could open up on time. So we had all our vendors on call in case something went wrong. And sure enough, at 2 in the morning, one of the fuses blew and we had somebody there to fix it in 20 minutes. And at 8:59, the last tile went down and all the stores opened on time. Now, a year after this renovation, sales are up 15% for the stores because we've created such a beautiful place to shop that people are spending more time shopping. We want that. And that's the secret to a great story is people see themselves in the story. You're the Sherpa or the Yoda in Star Wars helping, but the client, the hero of that story is really JetBlue now having this amazing airport. And instead of just telling, oh, we use critical thinking to anticipate problems, it was shown in the story by having all those vendors on call.
And they didn't have to have an epic lifelong journey that was huge. This was like one moment in time, but it made such a huge impact.
And then they can say, oh, that's the team we want to work with. We want them to do for us what they did for JetBlue.
So we need to wind up. This is our hour. We're almost done. I wanted to give both John, Peter, Sandy, and myself an opportunity just to give some last minute tips on owning the stage. I'd like to start with, hey, Peter, I know you're running in and out. Peter, three things that you think are really important that you've learned over the years on owning the stage. What are some of your insights?
Oh my gosh. I kind of said them already. I mean, first of all, know what you're speaking about. Like, that's number one, right? So you're speaking about something that, I mean, it's just inherent in you and it just comes out. I mean, that's my favorite thing. I think the thing is, for me now at this stage of the game, it's a game for me now. I get up on stage and I want to play a game with myself to see how much further I can push myself with my speaking so that I can try different things and just be, I just go off the rails a little bit, then I get quiet, then I get crazy. I do different things. And every time I get on stage, because I'm at this point where I'm very confident in what I'm speaking about, I have to stretch myself. So I try to stretch. And then once something works or feels good, I incorporate it into what I'm doing, or that didn't work, I'll spit it out. But that's what I'm trying to do now.
That's awesome. John, a few tips on owning the stage?
Arthur Ashe, the famous tennis pro, said the key to success is confidence. The key to confidence is preparation. So the amount of preparation you have causes you to have more confidence. And finally, I tell people to reverse engineer their talk. Think about what you want the audience to feel, think, and do at the end of your talk. And if you have that great ending, then you reverse engineer the rest of your talk to get to that place of what I want this audience to think, feel, and do after I speak.
Awesome. Sandy?
The most important thing, I believe, whenever you go up to speak anywhere is to have fun with it. Because if you're up there and you're uptight and you're miserable and you hate being there and you're not having fun, everyone's going to feel that and they're not going to have fun either. So even if you say the wrong thing, even if you mess up, even if you forget your lines, as long as you're having fun with it, it's contagious and everyone will have fun too.
I love Eckhart Tolle and what he said, The Power of Now. It's a book. Relish that moment when you're in front with that privilege of informing and educating and entertaining that audience. It's a privilege because most people are fearful to get up on stage. It's a small amount that can be up there and own the stage. So live in that moment and own it and celebrate it because it's unique. So that kind of winds up our Unity calls for this year. We want you to be part of what we're doing moving forward. Again, the whole idea is how do you become better at what you are and what you're doing by utilizing all these incredible mentors that we bring to you on a regular basis. Unity is an idea that we're going to do in 2020, and that is how do we take a passion, a concept, and turn it into a real business in 1 week. In 1 week, it's mind-blowing. So imagine an NBA on steroids. So we want you to be part of that. We'll give you more information. Sign up in the Unity portal, which is ASK Theory, asktheory.com. And Unity is just one of our many programs that we're coming out with, right?
Right.
By the way, it's going to be a great year.
It is going to be a great year.
I'm madly in love with this woman right here. This is Sandy. You want to go follow her podcast by going to Sandy in Focus. And you can hear all of these incredible people. Peter needs to be interviewed on one of the podcasts.
Yeah, Peter, you're next.
Has John been on your podcast?
Yes, John is in our episode. Awesome.
Okay, so go listen to those. It's mind-blowing, the people that she's had. And go watch our past programs. Like I said, Cameron Sinclair, who I think is going to win a Nobel Prize. He won the TED Prize. Simon Mannering, We First, all around the idea of how do you create a we community within your business and your mindset. And the sleep doctor, Michael Bruce, who was mind-blowing around your chronotypes. How do you become the most effective and efficient human being based upon sleep? Any last word, babe?
Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in January.
Everyone, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.